Welcome back, my YouTube channel viewers. This is TimeCoins, and today we are starting one of the deepest, richest, and most detailed explorations ever created on YouTube about the legendary 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny, a coin that represents not only a historical era but also the identity, economic strength, and cultural evolution of the United States during the early 1950s, a decade full of transformation, tension, recovery, and progress. When you look at the 1951 wheat cent, you're not just holding a small bronze coin. You are holding a tiny yet powerful time capsule from a period when the world was shifting rapidly after World War II, when America was rebuilding, redefining itself, and stepping into its new role as a global superpower. This coin carries the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, whose artwork was selected to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth in 1909, and even after more than 4 decades, the design continued to symbolize strength, morality, unity, and democratic values. The year 1951 sits inside a fascinating moment in U.S. history. The Cold War was rising. The Korean War was underway. Industries were booming, factories were expanding, and millions of Americans were relying on coins like this penny every single day for shopping, travel, communication, and daily life. Cash was king, and small change mattered deeply in the U.S. economy. The 1951 wheat penny was minted at 3 major mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each contributing millions of coins, yet each leaving behind unique traits, striking qualities, and collectible characteristics. Philadelphia, producing the highest mintage, created the bulk of the coins used nationwide. Yet many Philadelphia strikes from that era suffer from weaker details, dye erosion, and softer impressions due to extremely heavy production pressure. Denver, with its D mint mark, produced coins that often show sharper details on Lincoln's hair and beard and stronger wheat lines on the reverse. But Denver pieces are also known for showing repunched mint marks, RPMs, die cracks, or subtle doubling created by mechanical shifts during the minting process. The San Francisco Mint, marking its coins with the famous S, produced the lowest mintage for the year, making the 1951 S an attractive collectible with a long history of minor varieties, soft striking on some dies, and occasional repunched SS mint marks that excite variety hunters. In 1951, the wheat reverse, the iconic twin wheat stalks leaning inward, still stood proudly on the cent, representing agricultural prosperity and national unity. Only 7 years later, in 1959, this beloved reverse design would be replaced by the Lincoln Memorial Reverse, making the 1951 penny part of the final era of the wheat cent series. The metal composition of the 1951 1-cent piece remained the classic bronze formula of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving the coin its warm, reddish-brown hue and making full red uncirculated examples extremely valuable today due to copper's natural tendency to darken and tone over time. When collectors grade 1951 pennies today, they look carefully for luster quality, strike sharpness, surface cleanliness, color designation, road, RB, BN, and any presence of carbon spots or oxidation. A fully red MS65 or MS66 example can command a strong premium because such pieces are rare survivors, stored carefully for decades without exposure to humidity or handling. The 1951 penny also offers collectors a wonderful range of errors and varieties such as off-center strikes, broad strikes, clipped planchettes, misaligned dies, die breaks, dyed chips, cuds, and especially repunched mint marks, like DD or SS. These varieties not only increase the coin's appeal, but also give collectors an opportunity to study the minting techniques of the early 1950s. At that time, the mint was still reliant on mechanical processes that required human alignment of mint mark punches on each working die, which naturally resulted in small errors that have become cherished treasures for modern collectors. Economically, the penny in 1951 played a crucial role in everyday American life people used it to buy chewing gum, soda, newspapers, toy machine trinkets, and bus fares. Saving pennies in glass jars and tin boxes was a common habit, and children often collected wheat cents as a simple and affordable hobby. As decades passed, many 1951 pennies were removed from circulation by collectors, copper hoarders, and nostalgic Americans who recognized that wheat pennies would eventually become historical relics. Today, the 1951 penny is considered an essential coin for beginners building their first wheat cent collection, as well as for advanced investors hunting for high-grade gems. On TimeCoins, we explore the deeper meaning behind why certain coins become valuable, not just because of rarity, but because of the story, the history, the artistry, the economic context, and the emotional connection that people have with them. The 1951 wheat penny represents a country rising from war, entering a golden age of economic growth, and expanding its influence across the world. It represents millions of factory workers, soldiers returning home, children trading coins at school, and families building new lives in a rapidly modernizing society. This coin may be small, but its history is enormous. And as we continue into the next part of this mega paragraph, we will go even deeper into the minting process, collector demand, long-term value predictions, grading strategies, and powerful historical symbolism that makes the 1951 penny a timeless piece of American heritage, allowing collectors and historians to understand how a simple 1-cent piece became a mirror of American identity, industrial progress, and political transformation during the mid-century era. And as we move deeper into this massive exploration here on TimeCoins, it becomes clear that the 1951 wheat penny is far more than just a common date. Copper coin is a gateway into the story of how the United States mint operated, how society used money, and how global events shaped even the smallest denominations of currency. When studying this coin, we must consider the machinery used at the U.S. mints during the early 1950s. Large steel dies engraved with Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ear design, high-pressure presses striking planchettes hundreds of times per minute, and mint workers carefully inspecting dies, adjusting mechanical settings, and manually punching mint marks into each working die, a process that naturally produced slight variations from die to die. These variations are what modern collectors love miss, where the mint mark appears doubled or shifted. Small die cracks that create raised lines across Lincoln's coat or the wheat stalks, or subtle doubling caused by mechanical bounce during striking. All these features give each surviving penny its own personality. Many 1951 pennies that circulated heavily show smooth surfaces, worn hair details, faded wheat lines, and softened lettering, but even these worn coins carry emotional and historical value because they pass through the hands of Americans living through the golden age of television, the rise of rock and roll, the early years of suburban expansion, and a period of booming consumer culture. Meanwhile, uncirculated 1951 pennies stored in rolls, jars, or mint-sealed bags often retain their original copper brilliance, making them prized today if they remain spot-free and glossy. Color designations BN, brown, RB, red-brown, and road red play a massive role in determining value, with full red examples being exponentially more desirable because it is extremely difficult for copper coins to survive 7 decades without toning or oxidative darkening. Collectors examining these coins today at coin shows, online auctions, or grading services focus on luster quality, strike sharpness, and overall eye appeal, knowing that even minor differences can significantly affect market price. And here on TimeCoins, we emphasize that understanding these details helps collectors make smarter decisions, whether they are buying, selling, investing, or simply building a beautiful long-term collection. The 1951 wheat penny's value is also influenced by its historical placement. It is one of the key dates in the post-war era when the U.S. mint was transitioning from wartime production constraints back to full industrial stability. The Korean War 1950-1953 added pressure to national metal supplies and budget allocations, indirectly affecting mint operations, though not as severely as during World War II. Even so, every penny minted in 1951 reflects the broader context of national resilience and expansion, symbolizing how America continued to grow despite global tensions. The coin's composition of 95% copper made it valuable to hoarders later in the 20th century, especially during the 1970s and early 1980s when copper prices fluctuated dramatically, causing many people to save pre-1982 bronze cents for their metal content. As millions of wheat pennies, including 1951 coins, were removed from circulation, surviving examples became more collectible. Another reason the 1951 penny remains popular is its accessibility. Beginners appreciate that they can find circulated examples cheaply, while advanced collectors search for high-grade gems, era coins, and sharply struck Denver or San Francisco pieces. This gives the 1951 cent a dual personality, affordable enough for new collectors, yet deep and complex enough to fascinate experts. And as the years pass, the number of well-preserved examples only decreases, making high-quality pieces even more desirable. The cultural significance of the Lincoln portrait also plays a major role. The image represents honesty, leadership, sacrifice, and unity, values that resonate strongly with American identity. Each time someone picks up a 1951 penny, they connect with a moment in history that shaped the modern world, and that connection is what keeps collectors passionate about preserving and studying these coins. As we move further into this massive 5,000-word exploration on TimeCoins, we will explore the coin's grading history, market fluctuations, collector psychology, and the future of wheat penny investments, continuing the story of how this tiny piece of bronze earned such a huge place in American numismatics. As we continue moving deeper into the historical framework of the 1951 Lincoln wheat cent, we enter a more technical, analytical, and numismatically advanced layer, something that true collectors absolutely admire. Because understanding a coin like the 1951 penny is not only about knowing when it was minted, but also about understanding the socio-economic realities of its era, the evolution of minting technologies, the changes in America's monetary environment, and how those changes shape the life, rarity, survival rate, and present value of this coin. And of course, here on TimeCoins, we don't just talk about the surface. We go all the way down into the smallest. Historical roots, dye varieties, metal composition behavior, storage effects, strike diagnostics, grading science, and long-term investment forecast. Let's now decode the environment of post-war United States and how that environment affected the production of the 1951 Lincoln wheat cent. The year 1951 was part of a transitional period. The United States had already emerged from the intense production pressure of World War II, where copper was diverted to ammunition, shells, communication wire, and military tech. By 1951, the economy was stabilizing, but the Cold War was beginning to shape American industry, including its metal policies. Copper demand surged again due to industrial expansion, Korean War requirements, and electrical infrastructure growth. This subtle pressure indirectly influenced mint production strategies. Even though cent coins continued to be struck in bronze, their large-scale mintages were partly a reflection of an economy stepping into a high-production, high-circulation era. Now, when we talk about why certain years of the wheat cent series are common while others are scarcer, the answer lies in understanding mint distribution networks and banking flow patterns. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the majority of the 1951 pennies, served the central and eastern distribution zones. Meanwhile, the Denver Mint was responsible for western circulation. San Francisco minted coins primarily for Pacific Coast and offshore military bases. These distribution patterns affect modern-day rarity. For example, because Denver coins circulated heavily in industrial regions, a larger percentage of 1951 D cents ended up heavily worn. Conversely, San Francisco cents had a smaller production and shorter regional distribution track, which is why the 1951S is highly respected among collectors in high grades. Let's dive into the appearance and technical aesthetics of the coin, because collectors often underestimate how much the artistic evolution contributes to numismatic value. The obverse features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner in 1909, even though 1951 is much later in the series. The detail level on Lincoln's hair, cheekbone, jawline, and coat lines can vary dramatically based on dye life and strike pressure. Coins struck early in a dye cycle show sharper beard strands, crisp bow tie lines, and a smooth contour in the cheek. Late dye states show mushy softness. The beard looks blurred. The bow tie flattens and the rim weakens. These technical details are crucial for grading specialists when determining MS65 and higher. Another visually crucial element is the wheat ears on the reverse, the symbol that gives the series its name, wheat penny on sharp strikes. The wheat kernels are individually visible with full separation lines, but on weak strikes, these details blend together. Most 1951 pennies show medium-level detail because the mint was focused on volume production rather than precision. However, Philadelphia had the highest percentage of strong strikes among the three mints, while San Francisco coins tended to show slightly weaker details because the mint often used heavily worn dyes. Now let's discuss metal composition behavior, something only advanced collectors understand. The 1951 penny is technically made of 95% copper, 5% tin, and zinc. But the bronze alloy behaves differently depending on long-term environmental storage. Coins stored in humid climates, especially coastal regions, develop deeper brown toning and occasionally uneven spots due to copper's reaction with air moisture. Coins stored in dry environments preserve the original golden red brilliance, called mint red. A true red example from 1951 is extremely difficult to find today because copper naturally darkens over decades. This is why grading companies give separate color designations, ROD, RBBN, and these designations drastically change the price. A 1951 penny in MS66BN may be worth a few dollars, whereas the exact same coin in MS66 ROD can reach over $150 depending on demand. This is why collectors are obsessed with storage, because copper color determines 60% of the value in high grades. We must now expand into dye life, planchet quality, and strike uniformity, advanced minting topics that viewers of TimeCoins love. Every coin begins as a blank planchet, and the quality of these planchets highly affects the final appearance. In the early 1950s, planchet preparation standards were high but not perfect. Some planchets contain microscopic impurities or uneven surfaces, which cause small spots or graininess on the coin. Poorly annealed planchets created rough patches, commonly seen on the fields of 1951 cents. These mint-made imperfections reduce the grade but also help experts authenticate genuine coins because modern counterfeits rarely replicate these natural manufacturing flaws. Strike pressure is another important topic. Heavy strike pressure results in strong rim definition, crisp lettering, and sharp wheat kernels. Low strike pressure makes the coin look flat. Denver strikes are usually strongest, Philadelphia average, and San Francisco weakest. Collectors particularly seek Denver coins with full rims and strong obverses because they're much harder to find in MS65 or better. Another area where 1951 pennies become interesting is die cracks, die chips, and other natural mint anomalies. A die crack is a small raised line caused by cracks in the die itself. These cracks are completely harmless to the coin structurally. In fact, they add charm and sometimes even premium value to a piece. Some 1951 pennies show spectacular cracks across Lincoln's head, the date area, or the wheat stalks. Although these are not considered official errors, they attract niche collectors who enjoy dramatic visual anomalies. Now let's talk about the economic, cultural, and psychological role of the penny in 1951, the American penny at that. Time was more than a circulating coin. It was an everyday symbol of small savings culture. Children collected pennies in jars, families saved pennies for gas, gum, or basic groceries, and penny hoards were extremely common. The penny retained real purchasing power. For example, in 1951, a single cent could still buy small candies or contribute meaningfully toward essential goods. This is why 1951 pennies circulated heavily. People actually used these coins, which explains why so few high-grade survivors exist today. As we move toward the final portion of this highly detailed deep dive on the 1951 Lincoln 1-cent wheat penny, it becomes important to step back and observe how all of these historical, technical, economic, and numismatic layers come together to shape the actual identity of the coin. When collectors look at a 1951 penny today, they're not simply holding a small copper disc, they're holding a physical fragment of a nation's evolving storyline. And that is exactly why, here on TimeCoins, we believe in presenting every coin as a living chapter of history, a preserved snapshot of the era that produced it. To truly understand the 1951 penny, imagine the United States Mint in that year. Machines roaring, high-speed coining presses hammering thousands of strikes per minute, linemen inspecting planchettes for defects, die setters adjusting pressure and alignment, and quality control teams examining sample batches under magnifying lenses. Behind each coin was a process involving metallurgy experts, phasing engineers, and mint technicians, who ensured that millions of coins could function perfectly in everyday transactions. And yet, despite all this precision, every batch of coins still developed its own unique personality, some with razor-sharp strikes, some with soft details, some with micro-die chips, some with faint doubling, and some with immaculate brilliance, preserved only because they happened to fall into bags that were never circulated. Now consider the psychological and emotional dimension of coin circulation. A 1951 penny could have passed through the hands of factory workers during the rise of America's industrial boom, schoolchildren learning arithmetic, families saving for their first automobiles, or servicemen stationed at military bases using them in vending machines. Coins circulated through grocery stores, gas pumps, barber shops, diners, newsstands, lemonade stands, and post offices. Each penny accumulated tiny marks, scratches, and wear patterns that narrate its journey. When you pick up a circulated 1951 penny today, you're essentially reading the biography of a working coin. A biography written not in words but in microscopic abrasions and toning patterns. Collectors who pursue 1951 pennies in high grade often underestimate the survival challenge. Although over 1.1 billion coins were minted across Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco combined, the number of coins that survive today in pristine, original red road condition is extremely small. Copper darkens naturally, so genuine mint-thread examples represent a tiny fragment, often less than 1%, of surviving populations. And when it comes to MS66 or MS67 grades, the numbers shrink even further. Grading companies such as PCGS and NGC often certify only a handful of top-tier pieces, and those coins instantly become centerpieces of advanced collections. Another important dimension is the long-term investment profile of the 1951 penny. While some collectors underestimate mid-century wheat cents, the truth is that early 1950s coinage has shown steady upward growth over the past few decades. The reason is simple: supply of high-grade pieces is shrinking as more coins are locked in private collections, and the demand continues to rise as new numismatists enter the hobby. Generational cycling also plays a role. People who grew up seeing wheat pennies in circulation now collect them for nostalgia, increasing demand. Meanwhile, newer collectors are drawn to the affordability and history of the series, especially for coins like the 1951, which offer excellent learning opportunities, 3 mints, color designations, strike differences, and a wide range of varieties. Die varieties in 1951 pennies deserve one final examination, because understanding them turns collectors from beginners into specialists. While no major famous double dies were recorded in the 1951 issues, there were several minor die events including repunched mint marks, RPMs, small die breaks, rim cuts, and field cracks. Specialists enjoy hunting for these because they reveal precisely how the mint operated during mid-century coining. Denver mint mark punches, for example, show subtle differences in angle and pressure, allowing experts to determine exact die, states, and even estimate when in the year certain dies were used. Such microscopic studies are part of what makes wheat cent collecting so endlessly fascinating. It's a blend of art, science, and detective work. As we wrap up part 1, we must highlight one final concept. The 1951 penny is a bridge coin. It is positioned historically between two worlds: the wartime scarcity of the 1940s and the modern, industrial abundance of the late 1950s. It represents a moment when the United States was reorganizing itself, rebuilding industries, expanding global influence, and navigating new economic pressures. This is the beauty of numismatics. A tiny copper coin quietly reflects the transformation of a nation. And the 1951 penny, despite being common in numbers, is uncommon in the richness of the story it carries. So, dear viewers of TimeCoins, remember this: every coin has a voice, but only those who study its history can hear it. The 1951 Lincoln wheat cent is not merely a piece of currency, it is a compressed archive of American economic, cultural, and minting evolution. Whether you're investing, collecting, grading, or simply learning, this coin will always reward you with knowledge far greater than its monetary face value, allowing collectors and historians to understand how a simple 1-cent piece became a mirror of American identity, industrial progress, and political transformation during the mid-century era. And as we move deeper into this exploration here on TimeCoins, it becomes clear that the 1951 wheat penny is far more than just a common-date copper coin. It is a gateway into the story of how the United States Mint operated, how society used money, and how global events shaped even the smallest denominations of currency. When studying this coin, we must consider the machinery used at the U.S. mints during the early 1950s. Large steel dies engraved with Lincoln's portrait and the wheat ear design, high-pressure presses striking planchettes hundreds of times per minute, and mint workers carefully inspecting dies, adjusting mechanical settings, and manually punching mint marks into each working die, a process that naturally produced slight variations from die to die. These variations are what modern collectors love: RPMs where the mint mark appears doubled or shifted, small die cracks that create raised lines across Lincoln's coat or the wheat stalks, or subtle doubling caused by mechanical bounce during striking. All these features give each surviving penny its own personality. Many 1951 pennies that circulated heavily show smooth surfaces, worn hair details, faded wheat lines, and softened lettering. But even these worn coins carry emotional and historical value because they pass through the hands of Americans living through the golden age of television, the rise of rock and roll, the early years of suburban expansion, and a period of booming consumer culture. Meanwhile, uncirculated 1951 pennies stored in rolls, jars, or mint-sealed bags often retain their original copper brilliance, making them prized today if they remain spot-free and glossy. Color designations BN, brown, RB, red-brown, and Road red play a massive role in determining value, with full red examples being exponentially more desirable because it is extremely difficult for copper coins to survive 7 decades without toning or oxidative darkening. Collectors examining these coins today at coin shows, online auctions, or grading services focus on luster, quality, strike sharpness, and overall eye appeal, knowing that even minor differences can significantly affect market price. And here on TimeCoins, we emphasize that understanding these details helps collectors make smarter decisions, whether they are buying, selling, investing, or simply building a beautiful long-term collection. The 1951 wheat penny's value is also influenced by its historical placement. It is one of the key dates in the post-war era when the U.S. Mint was transitioning from wartime production, constraints back to full industrial stability. The Korean War 1950-1953 added pressure to national metal supplies and budget allocations, indirectly affecting mint operations, though not as severely as during World War II. Even so, every penny minted in 1951 reflects the broader context of national resilience and expansion, symbolizing how America continued to grow despite global tensions. The coin's composition of 95% copper made it valuable to hoarders later in the 20th century, especially during the 1970s and early 1980s when copper prices fluctuated dramatically, causing many people to save pre-1982 bronze cents for their metal content. As millions of wheat pennies, including 1951 coins, were removed from circulation, surviving examples became more collectible. Another reason the 1951 penny remains popular is its accessibility. Beginners appreciate that they can find circulated examples cheaply, while advanced collectors search for high-grade gems, era coins, and sharply struck Denver or San Francisco pieces. This gives the 1951 cent a dual personality, affordable enough for new collectors, yet deep and complex enough to fascinate experts. And as the years pass, the number of well-preserved examples only decreases, making high-quality pieces even more desirable. The cultural significance of the Lincoln portrait also plays a major role. The image represents honesty, leadership, sacrifice, and unity, values that resonate strongly with American identity. Each time someone picks up a 1951 penny, they connect with a moment in history that shaped the modern world. And that connection is what keeps collectors passionate about preserving and studying these coins. As we move further into this massive exploration, we delve into the coin's grading history, market fluctuations, collector psychology, and the future of wheat penny investments, continuing the story of how this tiny piece of bronze earned such a huge place in American numismatics, revealing that even a single cent can carry decades of craftsmanship, culture, and economic narrative, bridging the gap between the production line of a mid-20th century mint and the modern collector's album, and highlighting the human, industrial, and financial stories embedded in every microscopic scratch, toning pattern, and strike variation, ultimately showing that the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny is not just currency, it is a living, breathing artifact that communicates the story of America's post-war optimism, industrial dedication, and numismatic evolution while providing collectors with a tangible, hands-on connection to history that is both educational and emotionally enriching. Moreover, the 1951 Lincoln wheat penny offers collectors and historians a unique opportunity to analyze the nuances of minting practices, as well as the subtle differences in strikes, planchet quality, and die wear, which reveal how production techniques of the early 1950s influenced coin appearance and collector value. Careful examination of obverse details such as Lincoln's hairlines, beard strands, cheek contours, the precision of the date, and lettering sharpness allows experts to identify early versus late die states, while reverse details, including the definition of wheat kernels, rime consistency, and field smoothness, help determine the overall strike quality, a factor that heavily influences grading and market pricing. In addition to physical and aesthetic factors, understanding the historical and economic context of the 1951 penny adds depth to its numismatic significance. This coin circulated during a time when post-war prosperity was rising. American families were adjusting to suburban expansion. Children collected coins as educational tools, and cash transactions dominated daily life, which contributed to the heavy circulation and wear of many coins, ultimately creating a scarcity of high-grade survivors that now command significant interest from collectors and investors. The coin's longevity is also shaped by environmental interactions with its copper alloy, as toning, oxidation, and surface patina not only record the passage of time but also contribute to each coin's unique personality, making no two specimens exactly alike. Hay-grade, fully red, road examples of 1951 pennies are particularly rare, because copper naturally darkens over decades, and such pieces, when preserved without blemishes or carbon spotting, are highly prized and often serve as centerpiece coins in advanced collections, highlighting the dual appeal of this year's cent, both as a collector-friendly coin accessible to beginners and as a nuanced, intricate specimen that challenges experts to identify subtle die variations, strike differences, and minor mint errors such as repunched mint marks, die cracks, and planchet flaws. Furthermore, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny exemplifies the interplay between American artistry, minting technology, and cultural symbolism, as Brenner's portrait of Lincoln conveys ideals of leadership, integrity, and national unity, while the wheat stalk reverse reinforces themes of agricultural prosperity and collective effort, creating a coin that is simultaneously functional, aesthetic, and historically resonant. As collectors analyze circulation patterns, mint mark distributions, and surviving populations, they gain insight into how the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints allocated coins to different regions of the country, reflecting both logistical strategy and regional economic activity, while also influencing today's rarity assessments and market values. The coin's role in post-war American life extends beyond mere currency. It was an educational tool for children learning arithmetic, a savings medium for families, a transactional tool for everyday commerce, and even a collectible item for early enthusiasts who began storing wheat pennies in jars, albums, and collections, all of which contribute to the survival of high-grade examples and the scarcity of fully read, mint-state coins in the modern numismatic market. Additionally, studying the 1951 penny provides insight into broader numismatic trends, including collector psychology, grading evolution, and market dynamics, demonstrating that the value of a coin is determined not only by rarity and condition, but also by its historical context, aesthetic appeal, and the narrative it carries through time, connecting collectors to decades of industrial, economic, and cultural development. Ultimately, the 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny stands as a testament to the enduring importance of careful observation, historical research, and thoughtful collection, bridging the tangible experience of holding a piece of mid-century American history with the intellectual engagement of understanding mint processes, grading intricacies, and collector demand, creating a living artifact that transcends its small monetary face value, allowing enthusiasts to fully appreciate the richness of America's numismatic heritage, the complexity of coin production, and the personal connection each individual can have with a coin that has survived more than 7 decades of circulation, environmental change, and historical transformation, offering both aesthetic enjoyment and educational value while maintaining its role as a cornerstone of the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, and as such, the 1951 penny continues to captivate collectors, investors, and historians alike, proving that even the smallest coin can carry the largest story, encapsulating the essence of American history, artistry, and economy in a compact, copper form that remains relevant, collectible, and treasured to this very day. Continuing our journey through the fascinating world of American coinage here on TimeCoins, we now turn our attention to the next chapter in the Lincoln Wheat Penny series, exploring the 1952 issue in exhaustive detail, because understanding this coin not only requires a look at its physical characteristics, but also a deep dive into its historical context, mint production, circulation patterns, die variations, and its enduring appeal among collectors and investors alike, as the 1952 Lincoln Wheat Penny serves as a bridge between the post-war industrial expansion of the United States and the evolving demands of a growing numismatic community, reflecting both the technological capabilities of the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints and the societal realities that influenced coin usage and preservation over decades. Each 1952 penny is composed of the same 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc alloy that defines the classic wheat cent, yet minor variations in planchet quality, strike depth, and die alignment distinguish one coin from another, offering collectors a nearly infinite field of study as they Examine subtle differences such as obverse, detail clarity, RIM consistency, wheat stalk sharpness, die cracks, repunched mint marks, and microcruds, which together create a layered and nuanced picture of mid-century mint operations, quality control measures, and production challenges, while also providing tangible markers that allow modern numismatists to identify early versus late die states, regional mint distinctions, and rare collectible anomalies that enhance both historical understanding and market value. Beyond its physical properties, the 1952 penny circulated extensively throughout everyday American life, passing through schools. As we wrap up this detailed exploration of the 1952 Lincoln wheat penny, it's incredible to see how even a small 1-cent coin can hold so much history, artistry, and cultural significance, reflecting the story of mid-20th century America through its minting, circulation, and preservation, while giving collectors and enthusiasts countless opportunities to study strike variations, die states, toning, and rare mint errors. Every coin has its own story, connecting us to the people, events, and industries that shaped the United States. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to keep exploring the fascinating world of coins with TimeCoins, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to my channel so you never miss our detailed videos about history, minting, and numismatics, because every penny has a story. And here on TimeCoins, we uncover it together.